Hey everyone, James from TDB here, bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today I am back again with a blind tasting episode for the other two quarterfinal matches of Shumageddon. So today I have Bashful Shark versus Glowing Spider. So I have already given both teas a rinse. Then we'll moving after we drink through this and kind of go through like rating these teas in terms of like aroma, taste, mouthfeel, aftertaste. And sort of rewarding like a score. We'll reveal the winner of this match, and then we'll move on to the final quarterfinal. And then from there, next week, we will be doing both of the semifinals. Okay, so here we go. So Bashful Shark right here on my left, and Glowing Spider. And we'll take a smell of these as well. So Glowing Spider, by my eyes, looked a little bit darker. Very generic aroma coming from there. I would guess factory from just the sniffs. This one's a lot brighter, so no surprise there. A little bit more aromatics coming off of that. Bashful Shark. Verdict still out as far as it doesn't necessarily tip its hat as much as Glowing Spider as far as aroma goes. Cheers. Interesting. At first it seems very typical and a little bit on the lighter end and creamy, but there's a pretty decent strain of bitterness coming through this for me on Bashful Shark. Yes, I wouldn't be shocked if this is some boutique blend that uses some lamina material or some sort of bitter material that remains bitter even through the ripening process. Interesting. Yeah, it's stronger than any of the first four teas I had. Cheers. Going over to Glowing Spider. Moving on to this, I would say that it is actually a little bit thicker, has a little bit of a stronger base. I wouldn't be surprised if something similar to the first match happens here, where Glowing Spider has a little bit of more solid base on the first steep, but as we get into steeps 2, 3, and possibly 4, it evens out a little bit, and Bashful Shark, like the complexity of it ultimately wins out. I'm getting similar takeaways here as far as that goes. Simpler tea, woody, the body is thicker, which I do like. Yeah, it almost tastes, and I feel like this very well might be the contrast between these two, but I almost get a little bit of hint of tanginess, sourness to that tea, which is kind of interesting. Not something you normally get from ripes. Gonna reverse the order this time. Go from Glowing Spider to Bashful Shark. Make sure we get that water nice and hot. So right now, I would say verdict's still out as far as preferring both of these teas. Let that go for 15-20 seconds. All right. Now move over to Bashful Shark. Go for a similar amount of time. Yeah, and I'll be curious. I mean, I don't even know what the vendors are. I've just been assuming that we have some Yunnan sourcing and white tea in here. So far, the teas being revealed have been Xiaguan on the first round and BitterLeafTea on the second round. Okay, so getting a lot darker color here, at least for the Bashful Shark. We'll take a smell. Creamy, woody, very typical oak nose there. I'd say aroma-wise, Bashful Shark definitely winning both of the matches. That's probably on the lower tier of reasons why I like to drink ripe, though. So for me, if I were to weight those categories, aroma, taste, mouthfeel, and aftertaste, aroma might be the bottom category or towards the bottom. Okay. Yeah, the color of these look very similar. So we're going to start with Glowing Spider this time. Cheers. So solid, robust taste, just very woody, very simple, ripe. Yeah, sort of mid to low amounts of sweetness. Mouthfeel wise, not a lot going on. Maybe a little bit of that like sticky rice thing going on. Okay, and let's switch over to Bashful Shark. Cheers. So definitely a more interesting texture. It kind of hints at that sort of like fine silk thing. It's richer, so I'm liking that. I do feel like they are starting to show themselves a little bit more. So I'm leaning towards Bashful Shark for this round. Yeah, more full mouthfeel. I'd say body is still just a little bit beneath Glowing Spider, but not enough for me to prefer that tea. So round 2, definitely going to Bashful Shark. Nice texture. That bitterness is still kind of there. It's in the background. I like how it is well integrated into taste, so it's not terribly strong. It's interesting because the tea brewed pretty dark too, and the leaves look pretty dark as well. So I would lean. I tend to believe that it's probably not light fermentation, which is another possibility of why you could get sort of that stronger bitterness or something. Okay, and then we'll take one last sip of Glowing Spider. Yeah, so thicker body. Other than that, I'd say Bashful Shark is all in all superior. All right, so switching back over, reversing the order again. So we'll try to go just a little bit longer, for 20 seconds or so. Yeah, so if I were to guess which vendors are in here, which is mainly judging from context, for the factory end, we already know we have Xiaguan, probably Monghai Tea Factory, and I wonder what would be the last. Haiwan could be one, just because it's kind of like Monghai Tea Factory. Could possibly throw a, that one could definitely confound that guess. Could also be something like a 7581 brick. I'm not sure how available those are in recent years. Vendor-wise, we already know we got BitterLeaf, Yunnan sourcing white tea. I don't know what Farmer Leaf does in terms of ripes, but maybe them. Crimson Lotus also could be in there. And there is some Department of Transit going on outside my window right here. So excuse the noise if you can hear it. So yeah, I'm gonna go for about 20 seconds here as well. And burp. Oh, interesting. So I don't know if I messed up my brew time, but by my eyes, actually, we have switched which one is looking darker to Bashful Shark. I'm going to smell these, and I'm also going to take a look at how the compression is coming apart for both of them. Very familiar, but decent aroma. Below average aroma. Not that that's a death blow or anything, but yeah, it's just given a little bit less off. Maybe a little bit more in that wood grain category. Cheers. Oh yeah, I was going to look at the compression too. So the leaves over the Bashful Shark have pretty much come apart. Yeah, same. So looking pretty even as far as that goes. Looks like both are a little tippier, but can be hard to tell because ripe is often chopped up a bit. Cheers. Woody, creamy, solid. I am probably going to be rewarding this whole round right now to Bashful Shark, but let's see how Glowing Spider does. Yeah, I'd say this is just a good example of above average ripe. At least that's my takeaway so far. Solid, clean, just everything you'd really want as far as like a daily drink is concerned, which is exactly how I drink ripe. It's not bad. I probably like this more than the tea that lost last round. Yeah, woody, creamy. Yeah, I mean the flavor profiles are overall, I guess, fairly similar. A little bit more brightness coming from Bashful Shark. Yeah, and this even is hinting a little bit at that silky texture. So I'm going to finish these cups, but as of now, I think I'm going to reward, mark this as the winner. Okay, and switching back. I'd say the difference is maybe this has a little bit more of that grain integrated in, the Glowing Spider. Yeah, texture-wise, Bashful Shark kills it pretty bad. Okay, so gonna say this is a 4-1 win for Bashful Shark, so that will live to see another day. And let us see what we are looking at here from Glowing Spider. Alright, so let's see what we got here for Glowing Spider. Oh, okay, so it was not factory. I was wrong. It is Crimson Lotus Tea 2019 Nevermore. So that shows that Crimson Lotus is indeed in the bracket. So far we have Xiaguan, Crimson Lotus, and Bitterleaf Teas. And all right, so we are back with the second part of the quarterfinals, or the final part of this episode with 2 quarterfinal matches. We have Civilized Shrimp versus Feisty Snail here. So this will be the last one, and the winner will go up against Bashful Shark. Oh, I did forget to brew, so I will do that right now as we get these going. And I did just boil this water right before hitting record. And I have been drinking a lot of ripe lately as a result of filming this. So I will, it's about to be a weekend. I'll drink some more oolong and raw pu'erh, and then I will be recording the semifinals and finals. Okay, so that is brewing a little bit light. Yeah, definitely on the lighter end there. So let's see if that is reflected in the taste. Yeah, and let me know how you like these blind tastings, if you find them interesting at all. I appreciate especially the hard work of someone like Steam Milk, who does that stuff for me. I don't really have the willpower to do these blind tastings on my own and set them up. So having it all sort of laid out there for me, definitely something I do highly appreciate. It makes it a lot easier for me, just having it so organized like this. Yeah. So kind of a generic ripe smell there. Smells not bad there for the Feisty Snail. A little more stank right here to the Civilized Shrimp. Not necessarily in a bad way, and I'm not someone that gets too put off by that smell. Yeah, so let's get going. If I were to guess right now, I would probably put Feisty Snail a little bit more in that factory camp, and Civilized Shrimp perhaps a little bit more in that boutique camp. And indeed, Civilized Shrimp did brew a little bit lighter in color, so we're going to start with that one. Cheers. So yeah, I would say this is a little bit of a higher toned ripe, a little bit more on the creamy, woody end. And we're going to boil this again. Body is average to light, I would say. Texture, not a whole lot going on there, but sometimes these teas take a steep or two to get going on that. Maybe hints sort of that fruit taste, and here we have feisty snail. Thicker. Yeah, it's probably a little simpler, and that seems to be a theme on a number of these, where one might be a little bit higher noted, have a little bit more going on in terms of complexity, whereas one has more body and just sort of a base taste to it. And in that case, this is feisty snail. I would say on this steep, I prefer feisty snail. It's just got a real strong base. I'd say this is definitely one of the more thick ripes. And there's also a nice, pleasant sweetness to it. Yeah, so probably on the better end of workhorse teas. At least that's my initial take of it. So I'd say round one is pretty close, but probably tentatively goes to feisty snail. So let's let that go for a little bit as well. As you saw, I just reboiled the water right here. And so none of the teas so far have been brewing pitch black. This is dark, but it could definitely be a little bit darker. Okay, so I'm going to reverse the order again. Again, to my eye at least, it looks like feisty snail is a little bit darker. And back here. And we'll take a quick smell too of these. See how we are doing. Aroma is pretty light on Civilized shrimp, so I said it was a little bit higher toned. That doesn't necessarily come across in the aroma. Okay. Now this is really starting to remind me a bit of lumber slut or Camphornought of white tea. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, I think I may have been wrong in my initial assessment, saying that the feisty snail is a little more factory. Now I would say that it leans a little more white tea. I can't say I've had that profile in a ton of other boutique ripes, so interesting. I'll be curious if feisty snail loses what it'll end up being. Although as of now, I suspect it might win. Anyways, cheers. Yeah, very, very woody. I might have a hard time unseeing lumber slut reference. Who knows if that'll be correct or not, but it is very simple in that sense. There's not like a ton of different stuff going on, but it is strong in those characteristics, and I like those characteristics. In fact, I tend to think complexity can sometimes get a little bit overrated when you know really what you're after, especially in ripe, is like something simple that really hits the spot in the flavor notes you're looking for. So good, thick, oily, robust brew. Yeah, very, very tasty, I'd say, for feisty snail on this round. Okay, and let's go over to Civilized shrimp. Cheers. Honestly, not bad. Some extra silky texture to this going on now. I have a feeling this one is going to be one of the closer matches. Both of these seem pretty good. Yeah, the body is thickened here as well. Seeing a lot of what I would like to see on this steep. Texture improved. Good sweetness to this. I'm going to go back to feisty snail. Really, really close on this round. Both of these are pretty tasty. I might have to slightly give it to Civilized shrimp there, but both quite good. I could see both of these teas beating. I think the loser of this is going to be the strongest loser in the quarterfinal match. So very torn right now. Not sure which direction it's going to go. Probably this is going to be a 3-2 match. Might have to go 4 steeps on this as well, unless something really convinces me here. So these teas are really starting to open up here. And we're reversing the order again, so going to do Civilized Shrimp first, and then back to Feisty Snail. Color seems actually kind of close. If anything, Feisty Snail might be a little lighter this time, which is why we do multiple steeps. Hard to control for absolutely everything. Like the sticky rice herb smell to this, and just a heavy woodiness to, and maybe camphor for the Feisty Snail. Very close, this match. Yeah, and in the past 3 quarterfinal matches, I've actually I've consumed the winning tea of them, and I've dumped the loser. And today, I think I might be drinking both of these teas in the afternoon. So they are both quite solid in my view. At least that's my takeaway so far in the first 2. Okay, we're going to start with Civilized Shrimp. Cheers. A little bit of vanilla notes. Yeah. Again, it's a little higher toned. The texture of it is, I'd say, kind of gets more into that silk vein. I liked it when ripe kind of veers in that direction. And Feisty Snail. Just very woody, very solid all around. Oh, I am very torn on these teas. They are really neck and neck. I think right now I'm actually leaning slightly towards Civilized Shrimp. This last round, round 4, is probably going to end up being the tiebreaker here. But I do like the notes of this too. The Feisty Snail, some of it reminds me of the woody elements of the 7581 with less of that like red date fruit going on. Yeah, thicker. I just don't know. Very close match. I don't know. Well, I clearly have not pre-decided any of these. So this steep will be the tiebreaker. I'd say all the steeps, they've been pretty close. I probably preferred Feisty Snail early, Civilized Shrimp just a little bit later on. So we'll see how steep 4 goes. And this is one of those where, yeah, you do want to keep the brewing really consistent. The other teas, I feel like the differences and my preferences towards them was a lot more obvious. So hopefully my brewing has been sufficient here to do both of these teas justice. And so last time we started with Civilized Shrimp, so we'll start with Feisty Snail on this one. One thing, attribute that I haven't talked a whole lot about, and I've sort of realized over the course of talking about these teas is a little bit harder to measure, is aftertaste. And that's just because you're going back and forth so much. It's a little bit tricky to attribute aftertaste to which tea. So as a result, you kind of end up focusing on other attributes. And we will go. So very comparable colors. I guess it's suiting that they sort of flip-flopped on colors and darkness and end up in about the same place. Feisty Snail, a little more aromatic than Civilized Shrimp, but it's very heavy in that lumber category. In fact, I would kind of be surprised. Well, we'll see. I don't want to eat my words, but at this point, I would be slightly surprised if this is not a white tea. Okay, let's start out with Feisty Snail. Losing a little bit of body there. Still pretty tasty. And this tea has also, Civilized Shrimp has moved a little bit more into those woody tones too. So the teas are actually fairly similar right now. But we're going to have to make a decision off of this. Cheers. Body pretty good on both of them still. Probably a little thicker on Feisty Snail. Oh man, it's so close. It really is so close. I'm probably just going to need to pick one of these. I was like, Feisty Snail winning slightly. It's almost like which one I drink previously tends to have the slight edge. Okay. Alright, gonna give it to Feisty Snail. I think it's just like slight thickness advantage on here makes me lean that way, but really this one's neck and neck, so clearly a 3-2 judgment here. And Civilized Shrimp, let's see what you are. This is, I think, a pretty solid tea. Easily could be even a finalist. So bad luck for Civilized Shrimp to end up against the Feisty Snail in round 1. Okay, interesting. Not what I expected. It's a Haiwan production from Yunnan. Hidden Tillage is what it's called. Okay, Haiwan 2020, Yunnan, Civilized Shrimp. Solid production. I might need to seek that out at some point. So far, we have 4 teas advancing, including Feisty Snail. So we have not revealed a Yunnan sourcing, a Monghai Tea Factory, or a white tea. So my guess is that those are all amongst the semifinalists. Also have not revealed a BitterLeafTea. Not sure if they have anything here. It wouldn't be shocking either way for those teas as well. Okay, and yeah, so we have 2 of the big factories revealed now, Haiwan and Xiaguan. Guessing Monghai is the last one, and not really sure who that 4th vendor could be. But no shock to me that Yunnan sourcing and white tea and Monghai Tea Factory, all of which are kind of solid go-tos for me as far as my own ripe drinking, are probably in this this last semifinals. And I will be excited to try those teas next week when I film those semifinal episodes. So thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all next time. Cheers. Okay, so match number 3, we have Bashful Shark versus Glowing Spider. Here are the results again from the panelist. And this one was interesting to me because I thought this one, Bashful Shark, easily won for me, but Glowing Spider actually won here on the panel. And it looks like 4 of the judges went for Spider, 3 went for Shark. The score was 20-15, so there was... Actually, there was a couple of judges, interestingly, that went unanimously for Spider, as well as one that went unanimously for Shark. I'm a little surprised by this. I thought Bashful Shark would be a little bit more of a crowd pleaser here. So kind of goes to show that your tastes don't always line up with everyone else's. One thing I've really realized through these blind tastings is my tastes are my own tastes, and they don't necessarily line up with someone else's. And someone else perfectly legitimately could like a different tea just as well as you do. And a lot of these teas, I'm seeing that there's a lot of difference between the judges. And on one hand, it does make a lot of sense. These teas are definitely in the same price range, but on the other hand, I am a little surprised at some of these. Match number 4. And again, I am in the minority here. It was 19-16 in favor of Civilized Shrimp over Feisty Snail. So Civilized Shrimp, I had Feisty Snail going on. Civilized Shrimp was the Haiwan. I could definitely understand this one. I feel similar to this as I did about the first match where the Xiaguan was eliminated. I think Feisty Snail is a very particular tea that depends on if you enjoy it. Personally, I like that profile, so I think there's a reason why I favorite it. I think it's probably the thickest and sort of oiliest tea of all 8 of these, and I personally enjoy that. That being said, it is very single-noted, so similarly to that first one, Civilized Shrimp is just all around a solid ripe tea, so I can sort of get that there. And so Glowing Spider, the Crimson Lotus that I eliminated, goes on for the next one. So interestingly, I picked 3 teas and that differed from sort of the consensus on these other ones. The only one we sort of saw eye to eye on was I guess the for the Debonair Skunk versus Ecstatic Sloth in match number 2. Okay, so thank you all.